Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. It's Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock South African time, and it's time to have a look at the Gallagher Premiership. We normally do this show around about 1:30, but I had a few engagements today, so pushed it out a bit. So plenty of time for team news to settle. We've only got 4 games to chat about, which is a bit unfortunate, especially we've got a couple of URC cancellations. I believe the Sharks and Lions games both cancelled this weekend. That's very disappointing, especially for those who are on my best bet list. I obviously like the Lions points quite strongly there, so very disappointed that's been called off. Let's introduce the guest. So it's not his first time on the Good for the Game channel. He's been on the handicap show, but it is his first time with me because Chris Rowe was hosting that day. And it's John Newcomb at Bets on Rugby on Twitter. John, welcome to the show. Good to have you on, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
Excellent. We'll look forward to we had a quick chat before and looking forward to your contributions. I know you got some nice stuff lined up for the show. And then, Neil, you and I also haven't, you're a regular on the show, but you and I also haven't chatted for quite a while. Good to see you and what you're up to at the moment.
No, thanks so much for having me back, Brent. It's just been a bit busy for me this side. Just a lot happening. I ran the Cape Town Marathon last Sunday, so that was a fantastic experience. But yeah, full focus ahead on the betting weekend. Some cracking games lined up in the Gallagher. So looking forward to tipping some winners.
Excellent. Well, we'll get cracking with that. I'm sure the time change has probably caught a few guys up, but if you do join us on the live chat, feel free to make a couple of comments there. But let's get straight into the games. And Neil, I'll start with you. The first game I've got here is London Irish plus 1.5 against Gloucester. And the points line I saw on offer is 52.5. What are your views on this one?
Sure, Brent. Tricky fixture, choice game first up. And I think rightly so, but I'm going to side with Gloucester here for a couple of reasons. The bit of rain about I've heard over in Brentford. That should favour the Gloucester pack, play sort of away from that free running style that London Irish are so well known for. They've scored the most tries in the competition. They've got the most line breaks to date. So seriously unsurprising side that's London Irish are. So 52.5. It is always nervous going unders in the Gallagher, especially when Irish are involved. But I quite like that under 52.5. If you're feeling a bit nervous on that line, maybe look for an under 53 or under 54.5 at about 0.75 or something along those lines. So 2 strikes for me in this game. I like Gloucester board. I just think their set piece will ultimately produce in sort of the wet conditions here, and then a bit of a strike on the under points for me.
Right, and John, your views on this one?
Yeah, pretty similar. You can see why they've made it almost a 50-50 game. Last time Gloucester were down at Brentford, there was a draw between the teams, 25-all, I think it was. Might seem unusual to people looking at the table. Gloucester are 4th and London Irish are 2nd from bottom, and 9 points between them. But the gap isn't really that big, especially with London Irish at home. They're unbeaten in 7 there at their new stadium in Brentford. Gloucester away sometimes don't turn up, but I think this side with George Skivington in his 3rd season in charge now is a little bit more streetwise. They'll put it to Irish up front in the physical stakes, and they've got that ability to get over the winning line even when they're not playing that well now. I saw them down personally at Bath with it being on my doorstep when they won 21-17. Didn't play really well at all. Didn't really have to get out of 3rd gear, to be honest. And then they scraped a win against Wasps when they were 21-0 down at half time. Scraped a win against Bristol. Unlucky to lose at Saracens. So they could have been played for, lost for, could be played for, won for. But yeah, I just think that ability, that know-how of how to get the points when they're not playing particularly well, which they're not at the moment, I'd say pre-season, but I think there's still a lot of room of improvement in their performance. But yeah, I think they'll do just enough.
Right, Neil, just to bring you in quickly on this one, I know Chris Rowe has got a bet. He likes normally London Irish games. He reckons they've got higher scoring second halves. Is that a stat you look at or not really? For me, that's not a bet I've ever really played, but Chris seems to have done quite well on it.
To be honest, Brent, I don't really get involved in those type of bets. I understand the rationale for that, but to be honest, you'll probably get a little bit of value on that. Probably, I suppose 9 to 10 a piece. But just if I can have a strike on a handicap at 9 to 10 or points line at 9 to 10, that's just sort of my preferred style of betting. So that's where I like to go.
Yeah, and I must say I'm with you there. And of course, I'm even more a points player than a handicap player. Let's go up to John for the next game then to start us off here. John, you were saying it's raining out that way where you are near Bath at the moment, plus 5.5 against Saints. And wow, you got a high points line here. I'll double check it, but 59.5.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that. I'll just, if I catch the other game, bit of it was, but I think the second half will be the higher half of that London Irish Gloucester game. London Irish conceded 15 of their 21 tries in the second. They score more tries than they are quite easy to do in the first. So I think back in that, something like even money after the high score in that game. Sorry about that. But on to Bath Saints. Yeah, it's absolutely hammering it down. Looking out my window at the moment. But it's supposed to ease off the rain overnight and into the morning. And I think it's going to be fairly fair, the weather, on Saturday afternoon at the Rec. And you can see why the points line is high, because Bath are conceding something like 38 points a game. Northampton have got a really exciting back line. They make line breaks for will. Bath, for all their troubles, haven't won a game yet, bottom of the table. They are scoring points. Ollie Lawrence was absolutely sensational in his second outing in the blue, black and white the other week. So I don't think points will be hard to come by. And nowadays, passing the 60-point mark in the Gallagher Premiership isn't that surprising. It's been an absolute brilliant product on the pitch this season. Just an absolute, I won't swear, but carnage off it.
Right, Neil, going down to you on this game.
Yeah, Brett, massive points line we've got going here. And to be honest, this has been a weekend that I've been targeting for quite a while. Over in the points lines there, Gallagher's been free-flowing, and I don't think that the bookies have quite adjusted to sort of the weather that's starting to come over into the UK at this part of the year and going in towards the end of the year. So 59.5, both these teams massively free-flowing, can score tries from absolutely anywhere. Leaky defense at times, especially with Saints on the road. When I'm getting a points line of 59.5 with the rain hammering down the day before, I see there's a touch of rain about around 1 o'clock tomorrow before the 4 o'clock kickoff. So the field should maybe just be a bit damp. I'm not too sure if this how the pitch at the Rec's looking these days, because I know a couple of years back it was an absolute turmoil. So 59.5, I'm happy to stick my neck out there and take a ballsy play on the unders there. That's probably a stronger feel for me than the handicap. If I was pushed on the spread here, I'd go against the grain and take a tentative Bath plus. I just feel like, yeah, they don't have the names at the moment. They're missing a heap of players through injury, but they've been on the up. Hunt from France starting to win over the dressing room, in my opinion. And they've been on solid form at home. I think they've covered 3 of their last 4 fixtures on their home turf. So you always get some good value with Bath at the Rec. It just seems to be a venue where they like to pull out all the stops here. So more confidence in the under points, slightly tentative on the plus here.
Right, Thomas joining us on the live chat saying, good morning, gents. Thomas, let us know where you're coming from there, and have you been playing the Rugby Cup? The overs have been hitting. I must say, I followed the odd result. That's midweek stuff, that, hey, Neil, the Rugby Cup. Have you got involved in that at all? I think the conductors had a few points overs there.
Yeah, Brent, I've been holding my fire on those fixtures for one reason and one reason only. Not much liquidity. I already sort of struggled to get bets down with bookmakers in these sorts of competitions. So just a surefire way to get your account closed and for them to part ways with business. So I prefer to keep my ammo charged for the real rugby on the weekend.
Now, fair comment. I think it's South Africa's answer to the Toyota. South Africa's answer is probably the Toyota Championship, which is the same thing. We've stopped even talking about it. It's so difficult to get bets on that one. We're going to stick with you for the next game before going up to John. Exeter minus 1.5 against Saracens at home, and we've got a points line here of 53.5. Yeah,
Brent, this is a big strong fancy for me. In the weekend, I'm going to have a massive strike on under points over in Devon. There's a bit of rain about, especially around kickoff time. It's raining there at the moment, or scattered showers over in Devon there. So I think that 53.5, they're pricing it if it's a sort of a clear conditions. I expect this line to drop right down to 48.5. So big strike my side on the 53.5, and then slightly higher on the under 55.5 at 0.73. I say that with quite a lot of confidence. I'll take a tiny nibble on the handicap just because I'll have so much invested on the points line. I'm going to call Exeter to get a narrow victory here. I think you can pick them up close to 8 to 10 on the board. So I'll leave that minus 1.5 alone. I just think that Exeter are starting to be sort of that the Exeter of old at Sandy Park, tough place to go and visit. Previously last season, they conjured up a couple of sort of home defeats in front of their fans. I think they were still adjusting to that new rule where Exeter love to sort of pick and drive close to the line, and now with it getting held up, it was 50-22. But they've adjusted to that. They're fielding a seriously dangerous back line this weekend. So I like Exeter to edge out a close one against Saracens, but a lot more confidence on the points lines here.
Right, now John and I were having a chat just before we came on air. John, I've got a feeling you're going to agree with him on that unders line there.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's been a bit of an overreaction to Saracens' this new approach. It's been fantastic to watch their free-flowing, offloading game. Has been a complete opposite to the kick chase or stranglehold game that they had before. So I think there's been a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to that, and you can understand why. But when you historically look at fixtures between the two down at Sandy Park, almost the average number of points per game is almost half that when the fixture is reversed and played at Saracens. I think the average over the last 4 games since Saracens last won down there, which was in September 2016, is 34 points per game, as opposed to 66 when Sarries are at home. So, yeah, okay, both sides have changed their spots, so to speak, trying to move away from the pick and go, the kick chase, stranglehold type of game. But I can't see it. But I still think they'll cancel each other out fairly much, and it'll be a pretty tight game down there in Devon. I go the other way though. I think Saracens might just shade it. It's going to be a fully loaded game. Both teams fully loaded, so it's going to be an absolutely full-on onslaught. Physically, but yeah, I don't think the points will get anywhere near 53.
Right, well, we're going to stick with you for what is actually the final game of the weekend. And I don't have a points line on this one, John, but -7.5 Sale against Harlequins.
Yeah, I had in my role working for the Rugby paper, I had the pleasure of talking to Alex Sanderson. It was a very engaging interviewee in the media call this week, and he lets you sort of in behind the Iron Curtain, so to speak, and gives you a few insights. And apparently Manu Tuilagi is absolutely fit and firing to go. He could have played the other week, had a bit of a slight back spasm. They played it on the safe side with him going off to England next week. But he will be fielded against Quins, and I'm sure with the confidence they've got there on the back of equaling their best ever start to a Premiership season, they'll have too much for a Quins side who haven't quite clicked into gear yet and really struggled to break down Leicester's defence last week. And Leicester's defence, of course, is marshalled by Kevin Sinfield, the Rugby League great, and Rugby League runs throughout the coaching team at Sale with Paul Deakin in attack and Mike Forshaw in defence. And they're up and at them, a bit like Leicester, and I don't think Quins will get the space to play the game and just be relentless and put their foot on the throat and make sure that they get a 6 straight win.
Well, we're going to go down to Neil. I'll get a bit of an echo there on John's line. I'm battling a little bit to you, John. I think we just might have a bit of a bad Wi-Fi connection there. Let's, before we get back into the best bets, get Neil's verdict on this one. Neil, straight away, I just see the comment from WJS there that the UK line here is -9.5. I got this line off Sunbet, but a number of bookmakers I looked at hadn't priced up on this game yet. Well, they probably priced up and took it down. Any movements here that we should be aware of?
Yeah, Brent, I think if anything, the handicap's probably bounced out a point or two. I'd settled sort of around the 9.5 mark. But Sale Harlequins, what a cracking fixture. Just two completely contrasting styles here. Sale really like to keep it tight. I was reading some stats earlier. They've got the fewest passes out of any single team over 80 minutes. But it's also quite interesting that they've both so much talent in their forward pack, some seriously bruising ball carriers. They've got the worst stats in the competition too far at the set piece, lowest success rate in the lineouts, and then also lowest success rates on their own ball in the scrum. So that's a bit of a worrying sign when you have sort of you have the amount of quality that Sale have scattered across their forward pack. But I just think that this fixture scares me a bit. I'm leaning Harlequins on the plus here, but the way that I had a look, it's starting to look a bit muggy over in Manchester at the AJ Bell, and that'll play right into Sale's hands here. They won't be able to they won't allow Harlequins to sort of free up their dangerous backs. The likes of Caden Murdy, he's been absolutely superb all season. And that centre combination of Esterhazy and Marchant up there with the most dangerous and seriously for the best supporters, some of the best viewing centres in the Premiership. So I think that Harlequins need to seriously readjust their game plan going across to Manchester, but to keep it a bit tight, so play in the right area of the park, sort of move that big sail pack around here. So at 9.5, just because Quins have the ability to score all over the park in whatever conditions present themselves. I'm taking a sort of a tentative player on that plus. But another bet that I am looking out for is an unders on sale points, and hopefully at around 31.5. I looked at it earlier, points line of about 52.5, 53.5, so that should play sale around there. So sale around under 31.5 gets a nod from me.
Right, back up to John there. John, any closing thoughts on this one before we get into the best bets?
I've always been sceptical about backing Sale to get over 30 points, but they have done a few times this season now, and their attack is getting a little bit better. Last season, they built their good run towards the end of the season on their defence, but they knew that they needed to develop their attack as well. So, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous to say that they've scored less than 30 points. I really do think they're starting to look the real deal with ball in hand, and they will be there or thereabouts on that.
Right, let's go to the bets now. I'm sorry, John, if I hesitate a bit. We are having a few technical glitches here, so I hope I haven't cut you there. But I'm going to stay with you for the best bets before moving on to Neil. Just in terms of those best bets, give us your Premiership. But if anything else you fancy on the weekend, feel free to throw it in as well.
Okay, I've been looking at and working on the Women's World Cup quite a bit, and a few interesting bets there. I'll get on to those in a moment. Well, I rack my brain and try to remember what they were. But Bath Northampton. I think Northampton -3 on the first half handicap is a real good bet, because Bath very much second half team. They've only scored 44 points in the first half and conceded 122 in their games today. So with that Saints back line and the way that Bath defend or don't defend, Northampton at -3 on the first half handicap, which is around about even money. I think that's a really good bet to have. The points under down at Exeter Saracens. Like I said before, I expect that one to follow history and to be fairly low scoring. So there's a couple of games there in the Gallagher Premiership. As for the Women's World Cup, I think Scotland was something like +40, sort of high 40s, weren't they?
Yeah, 47.
Yeah, I know their race is pretty much run unless they sort of defy the odds and the critics and beat the Blackburns, which I can't see happening. But they've actually named a team which has one change at fullback, and 12 of the 15 have started every game so far. And they could have easily gone into this game with 2 wins, because they were 12-0 up against Australia, lost 14-12, and they were very unlucky to lose to a last-second penalty against Wales 18-15. So they're not too far off a good performance. And I think having 3 games in a row, pick the same team against the Blackburns team that has absolutely made wholesale changes, who know that they're in the quarterfinals, know that they don't have to play, anything like 100%. That could definitely tip it in Scotland's favour on that.
Right, let's go down to Neil then. Neil, same thing for you. Obviously your best sort of Premiership, but at the same time, anything else you fancy on the weekend? Because there's obviously a lot of other rugby, although a couple of games less than what we would like. Yeah,
Brent's strongest fancy on the Prem is definitely that unders in the Saracens fixture. So I think that's an absolute cracker. Second favourite is probably the unders in Bath Saints. It is always nervy, as I said, taking the unders in those two, but that's a pretty meaty line. You're going to be, even if it, I suppose, does edge out, and it'll be seriously close to the 80th minute. So I think you'll be in the money most of that. And then just onto the other fixtures, I do like that under 50.5 in the NPC final. It seems like I'm going big on the unders this weekend. Pickerel on the whistle final, two good sides. So I think there should be a bit of cancel hot rugby there. And then just in the URC, I've got a strong fancy on Bulls -1.5, Bulls -2.5 against Benetton. I think that they do the business this evening.
Yeah, I know on the handicap show last night, Harry liked that as well, and Conductor liked the unders. So I've thrown those in a multiple, the newsletter multiple. There's a link down below. But I'm gonna have to get more involved, because now my best bet, the Lions, of course, is gone. And Chris also saying a big unders weekend for him. So it's definitely a weekend that I hope Henrik Swart isn't going fishing. and that he's going to be around because he'll certainly enjoy his unders place. Neil, thanks very much for joining us, man. Great having you on the show as always, and good punting to you. And John, good having you on as well, man. Thanks a lot, and hope things dry up there for you.
Yeah, please, thanks.
Thanks, Brent.
Right, thanks to the guys who watched us in the live chat, and remember to join us next week Thursday at 9 o'clock for the handicap rugby chat that matters.